Hello, my name is Tyson, and I'm going to be sharing my resilience and prevention program, sharing our plan, EHE 385 final project. I would like to start off with the land acknowledgement that I'd like to acknowledge that Regina is located on Treaty 4 territory, the traditional lands of the Niqawak, Nakwi, and Nakota, and homeland of the Dakota, Lakota, and Métis peoples. So to begin with, I'm going to be talking about what makes a substance a drug. So a drug is broadly described as any substance that when put into the body affects how the body functions. Chemicals enter the bloodstream and affect the neurological system and the brain, causing changes physically, emotionally, and in terms of how we perceive and respond to situations. Can all be changes that may have an impact on the person. So as we can tell, it does many different factors within the body. It takes you out of your original natural state and state of mind, and can cause you to do many different things that you maybe wouldn't do on a normal day or normal basis when you're not on a substance. So that takes us to why are drugs hazardous? Well, and the reason for that is when used excessively, any medicine can be hazardous. Some medications can also be toxic when combined in potentially harmful ways or when consumed by hypersensitive, allergic people in the modest or even basic doses. So it doesn't matter how much or when you do it. It's typically, though, when you do a lot, it can do many harm within the body. If you have it in your body, the smallest amount to the biggest amount, effects can still come out of that. So why do individuals use drugs? And the reason for that is people find substances can address issues. It can be widely available. There's many different places you can buy them or get them. And usually once you find out, then you know where that resources of where you can get them, and you'll usually keep going back because it's convenient. And also another one is peer influence. So peer pressure can play a big role because it depends on the crowd you're around. If that's what your friend group's into, you're more likely to get into drugs. Or if your family has it available, then that's something you're going to have off the top of your hand and have a easy resource to it. Or if you're just simply, depends where you're at, if you're in a setting, you're around a group that's doing it, they're passing around a joint for an example, then it's just like you feel obligated to do it because then people think, why not just do it? Simple things like that. And the last thing is pleasure. People often do it for pleasure because it just makes them feel good. It can help solve your problems, as people say. It can really just make you feel good and, like I said, get out of your natural state of mind. And temporarily prevent your problems from feeling good during the time at the moment. So there's two different types of drugs. There's legal drugs and there's also illegal drugs, of those two categories. And legal drugs include painkillers, anti-inflammatories, and prescription medications are more likely to be used therapeutically. So that includes alcohol and nicotine. Two other legal substances that are commonly used to enhance leisure time are not necessarily safe. So as we all know, it's pretty common. We've all either done it or we know people that consume alcohol or nicotine. And oftentimes these are drugs used for celebratory events. We think back to sports. When you win a game, you win a championship, what do people go to? You always see the champagne bottle, beer. People are celebrating after, like in the locker room, or have a party after. So that's something I want everyone to keep in mind, is just why do we think we have to turn these things in order to have a fun time? And why is that just the answer? In society, it's become the norm as to why, or as to that's what we do, and it just become the norm. So for legal drugs, there's recreational and therapeutic drugs. Those are the two main types of legal substances. So yeah, for recreational ones, there's nicotine, alcohol, and caffeine. And for therapeutic, there's pharmaceuticals, sedatives, and anabolic steroids. So those are just a few examples within this category. There are more, but as you can see, these are pretty common ones, especially the recreational ones that we, like I said, should all know someone that's used them or used them ourselves. And yeah, because they're legal, they're easy to get, and we don't feel as obligated for using them, because if things are legal, we think it's okay to do. But in moderation, it might be, but substance abuse can go way farther than that. And yeah, consuming in high doses, this is when problems can occur, and how frequently we're using them, and if we're needing to rely on them. So here the next one is illegal drugs. So the government classifies illegal drugs in that category because they pose a direct hazard to people and the community. So cannabis, ecstasy, cocaine, amphetamines, heroin, acid, and magic mushrooms are a few of these. Some illegal substances are known as recreational drugs. So these are a lot of times more hard drugs. Yeah, they consume big harm to the body when consumed, once it gets into your bloodstream. The drugs you can still buy off of people, like if you get a connection, if you know a guy selling them on, the street, or someone that you can pick it up from. It's just because they're illegal, they're still widely available, which poses it as a big harm. And yeah, the consequences of these are very severe, because they're very harsh and hard on the body. All right, so now we're going to get into what stimulants is. So this is a drug called stimulants, and what it does is stimulate the central nervous system and accelerate the transmission of signals between the brain and the body. So they can raise your body temperature, heart rate, blood pressure, alertness, and attentiveness. And common types of these are nicotine, caffeine, fexictidine, and amphetamines, and methamphetamine. So yes, stimulants, really, yeah. So what it does is it accelerates your body. It gets you, a boost of energy, gives you a rush immediately. Like caffeine, we all know what coffee does. That's why people have it. It wakes you up. That's the same as nicotine. It just, yeah, it can just boost you, give you a little quick rush of energy. It's not necessarily good, but that's why people enjoy that pleasure. They want to wake up. It feels good. And the main thing is, it's very addicting. We all know people, if you're a coffee drinker, you usually have it every day. This caffeine's very addicting. That goes the same with nicotine. Once people start vaping, for an example, it's hard to quit because you just rely on it, not even knowing that you're fine without it. It just gets in your head that you need it, and yeah, it's very addicting to the body. So yeah, there are drugs that boost attentiveness and energy. They're most frequently taken for narcolepsy, ADHD, and occasionally for depression and obesity. So for example, Retline, Adderall, and Dexedrine. And they're stimulants that raise energy levels, your blood pressure, and dopamine production. And my main point here is that they're extremely addictive. So they give you a boost of energy, raise your blood pressure, and just yeah, it's a temporary buzz, you can call it. And that's why people keep consuming it, because they get to like that feeling, like that rush, and they keep going back to it and keep using it. Depressants. So this is kind of, you can call it almost like the opposite of stimulants, because depressants operate differently. Instead, they decrease mental activity. So these can help you relax by slowing your heart rate and breathing. When taken in high doses, depressants can result in nausea, unconsciousness, and even death, since they impair reflexes and reaction time. So some common types of these ones include alcohol, sedatives, marijuana, and opiates and opioids. So yeah, what these do is yeah, almost like lessens your ability. It slows you down. Your hand-eye coordination isn't as great. Your vision isn't as great. Your just natural reflexes aren't as great. It slows you down, and it impairs you to be as alert, to be able to function normally and as quick as you normally would. And that's the hazard that these drugs can present, which can be very dangerous. And the next one I'm going to be talking about is tranquilizers and sedatives. So these ones are classified as depressants, and they calm the nervous system, which are typically recommended to treat insomnia and anxiety problems. So for instance, benzodiazepines and tamipam, Annex, Valium, and X6. Those are some of the most common types. So yeah, so benzodiazepines have the potential to lead to depression, drowsiness, slurred speech, confusion, and euphoria. And when used with other depressants, they can be especially dangerous. And the next one I'm going to be talking about is hallucinogens. These drugs are known as hallucinogens, can cause you to perceive things that aren't really there by distorting your sensory impressions. Whatever mood you are in, when you take them, they're known to intensify. So some common types include acid, magic mushrooms, mescaline, and cannabis can also have some hallucinogenic effects. So it's very distorting, which can cause, call it like PTSD, because you can worry about things because you're seeing things, you're thinking things are happening around you when they're really not. Like things will be moving, things might be appearing in your vision when they really aren't. So just simply sitting, you can be at risk once you take these drugs, because things will be moving around, you'll be seeing things happening, and it can cause big outbreaks because you're getting worked up about a problem when possibly nothing's going on around you, where you're not as alert of what's going on around you simply. and prescription drugs. They're pharmaceutical medications. They can be extremely addicting and have negative consequences in one's health when misused. Prescription medication abuse primarily takes two forms: dependence on or substance misuse to a prescribed drug. This can be obtaining prescription drugs illegally for use in performance enhancing or recreational activities. So this next category I want to talk about is, what does the term misuse mean? So to start off with, we have what overuse is. So it's when a drug is used at greater doses or for longer than recommended durations. And we have intentional misuse, when prescription medications are regularly used for their stimulant effects. So you enjoy the pleasure, you keep doing it, you know it's bad for you possibly, but you are starting to rely on it because you enjoy the feeling that drug provides you. And there's also diversion, when a prescribed medication is distributed to additional users and then sold for a profit. Now, this can be known as drug dealing. You're buying drugs, commonly illegal drugs, from a drug dealer. Here we have opiate-based painkillers. These are prescription painkillers, are used to treat severe pain. Those who have sustained major injuries or undergone significant surgery tend to use it the most. They function by preventing the brain from receiving pain signals. For instance, morphine, codeine, methadone, Vicodin, and Oxycontin. They can be extremely addicting and are closely related to heroin. And next we have anabolic steroids. These are derived from the hormone testosterone in men. It is either injected or taken as a tablet. These are used to treat cancer, osteoporosis, and hormonal issues. And damage to the liver can result from misuse. Males are associated with infertility, shrinking testicles, breast growth, and baldness. And women are characterized by facial hair, a deeper voice, an enlarged clitoris, and monthly changes. All right. So having listed most of the drugs discussed within EHE 385 and what they do to the body, and having that awareness now, the big thing is about creating connections within the classroom. And two main things, the big takeaways are: behavior that attracts attention is attention seeking. So we have to talk about the kids that are looking for behavior. They want attention. This can maybe result in a kid being bad, but they're constantly bad. They're wanting to be loud. They're wanting to get everyone's attention. That doesn't just mean, they're trying to just be an attention seeker. It means they're attachment seeking. That's what we have to think of things as, that they want your attention because they want help. They want to be noticed, and there's more to it than the person just trying to be seen. So attachment seeking is something we have to remember. And also to take an active role in our students' upbringing. As an educator, being there for our students and being a support system can be huge, because we don't know what a kid's upbringing is. And they possibly don't have those resources. So getting to know your students, getting to know their story, constantly checking on them and letting them know that you're there for them is huge. So there's 4 key things that I'm going to be talking about here that is important to use and highlight. And the first one is gratitude. So I'm teaching students to express gratitude, highlighting the positive and help them comprehend why and how they matter. This is very important because everyone has a self-worth, everyone has a place in this world, and students really need to find that within themselves. The next one is a safe environment. Build a sense of community in your classroom, but good connections first, developing healthy relationships, and encouraging meaningful conversations. Just talk about meaningful things, talk about life, talk about what's going on, and build a safe environment that kids feel like school is a place they want to be, and a place where they feel like they can open up. This next one, apathy. So express your concerns for your students, actively observe and listen, and discover their lives. So, hear their story, let them talk, give them the time of day. These can all be huge things that go a long ways for a student. As you have to get things off your chest and having good conversations and knowing what's going on, because we all don't know the old saying, you don't know what goes on behind a closed door. And having apathy can really help to get to know the unknowns. And the last one here is trust. So be open and honest with your students. Exchange personal narratives. Establish guidelines and requirements for yourself. So just having trust. If you build a solid trust foundation, let your students know that even if it's wrong or maybe it's hard to say, that it's okay. We all make mistakes, nothing's perfect, and that you won't necessarily just get in trouble, but rather just say the truth, because it's better off to know, and that's how we can help and fix situations rather than lying. So here we have prevention and intervention. So love and affirmation without conditions. Help children see and communicate with their safety nets. Get them in touch with community resources and place a focus on coping skills. Being there for your students, working on coping, working on ways that you can build a plan. You can build a plan to create an end goal and steps that you can work on towards reaching and achieving that end goal. So that includes the teacher monitoring, really keeping track and working with that student to try to overcome what they're battling or wanting to change the way they're acting, the way they're behaving. This is what prevention and intervention includes. So here we got empowerment, comprehensive, and accountability. So before the age of 25, our brains are not fully matured. The brain can take up to 3 months to recover from regular substance usage. Inform students about the terminology, dangers, and facts related to teen substance use and abuse. And provide accurate information regarding substance use and the development of the teenage brain without stigma or judgment. And here we have language and awareness. So belonging, mastery, independence, generosity. Those are all key things. Recognize the price of admission. Letting students know that or be aware of, what the consequences are going to be. If you do a drug or you get into substance use and misuse, realize what you're getting yourself into, because a lot of times you don't know the effects. And a simple thing that you can always say as language is just no thanks, I'm good right now. It's your body and you control what you do. And that takes us to what resilience is. So the ability to identify one's moods and emotions as well as coping mechanisms can be taught to students. Live in close proximity to our families within our classroom. Create a definition of resilience with others. Set a family objective. Utilize morals to promote resiliency. And emphasize forgiveness, openness, and self-advocacy while teaching shame versus guilt. So resilience, it's based on our life experiences. It's something you're not given. It's being resilient is learning from our mistakes, trying to better ourselves. Um, yeah, really, it's a trait that's hard to develop, but it takes time. But it's something that being resilient makes us stronger, and you know, it can take a lot of help in order to become resilient. Within the classroom, providing resources, physical resources, as well as stories of hope and resilience. This can be motivational, help educate students, and just give them an easy resource on the tip of their fingertips if it's there, instead of making them look hard and dig into it. Have it there, and they're more likely to read it and find out useful information. And here are just some resources if regarding substance use or misuses, or education more on drugs, about harms and hazards. And these are places that you can go fairly locally within Regina and Saskatoon and Moose Jaw. And yeah, so that's just takes us to our final thoughts here. That if there were any questions, comments, or concerns, um, you can put them in the comment section. And really just understanding the impact of what drugs can do, um, the effects of substances and substance use and misuse. Um, your best bet is just to not try it. The common phrase of "I'm just gonna try it once and then I'll quit. I can quit anytime," but then you find out that over time you rely on it, you need it, you're doing more, you're in higher doses, you're consuming more, and it's that easy to just keep doing it. So staying away from substances, but more importantly, educating our youth about those substances so they're aware of the harms, they're aware of the effects, and then that developing those strong classroom bonds, being a solid resource as a teacher, teaching our students what resilience is, helping our students become stronger based on their life experiences, and letting them know that no matter what they've done or what their current state of mind of where they're at in their life, that you can open up, you can talk about it, you can create goals, and we can create a plan to work towards those goals, because anything is possible. You can turn any situation around and get your life back on track ultimately, and become the person that you want to be. And I look forward to implementing many of these things into my future classrooms and working with students and helping them become resilient, becoming the best version of themselves. Thank you.